Hey friends, it's Robin. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing November releases. I am filming this significantly later than I normally do. It is already November 2nd. Normally I am prepping this list like a week or two before the month starts. And because of that, I have a very long list of releases. There are 20 books on this list. As always, we're going to go in release date order, and then at the end, I have two books that don't yet have information. So the first book on this list, November 2nd, so this is out whenever you are seeing this, is Feed by Aveda Weiss. The audiobook is now available. This is a novella that comes before their full-length novel. I believe their full-length novel is Yours Insatiably. I always get the titles confused, but this one is a really steamy one night together between these two coworkers who haven't really gotten along historically. One of the main characters is a moth creature, and the heroine is a succubus. And in this world, the monsters can use this app to get things that they need, and the heroine uses this app to bring people to her house so that she can feed without running the risk of losing control. Her coworker shows up at her door, and the two of them have this insanely steamy night together. This audiobook is really short. I want to say the full-length audiobook is like 2 hours. On to November 3rd is You Can Count on Me by Faye Quinn, which is the second book in her Christmas Daddies series. I hate that title. Book 1 was Let Your Heart Be Light, which I read last year around the holidays, and I actually really liked it. I thought it was very adorable. The little like blurb thingy says, "They say you should love thy neighbor, but I don't think they meant it the way I want to love mine." It is a standalone, slow burn, holiday romance, blossoming friends to lovers romance between a single father and his adorably flirty neighbor. Together, these two are warm, young, and tooth-achingly sweet. With too many dad jokes, holiday magic, positive mental health rep, primal play, and the slowest, sweetest of all burns. On to November 7th, which is the first Tuesday of the month. We have two releases. First is Home for the Holidays, which is Hollow Knights number 8 by Lee Jaco. This does not yet have a cover or a synopsis the day that I am filming this. I'm assuming it's coming really shortly. This is a Thanksgiving Day romance, and that is literally all I know about it. Like I said, she hasn't released the tropes or anything yet, but we do have a title reveal. This is like the little graphic that she posted over on Instagram. And then the other book coming out on this day is A Power Unbound by Freya Marsk. Just gonna get my cat popping in. This is the third and final book in the Last Binding series, and this is a historical fantasy romance series following magicians in Victorian London. And in book 1, one of our heroes is a human who knows nothing about magic, and through a series of events, exposed to magic in a pretty intense way and is cursed. And he ends up having to work with this very grumpy sort of magician. And the two of them end up having a really, really cute romance and uncovering this like seedy underbelly of magic. And this is the final book. It is another romance, and I am really excited to see how it ends. On November 10th, we have another indie release, and that is A Curse of Scales and Flame by Max Walker. I have no idea how this popped onto my radar. I don't know where I saw it, nothing like that. But this is an fantasy romance with dragons. Dragons are not a buzzword for me. I know they are for so many people. They don't do much for me, but it says that the dragons are dying all over the world. A curse was taking us out one by one, and nobody knew how to stop it. I watched my mother burn. I watched my little brother fall sick. I didn't want to see anyone else die. I was determined to figure out how to stop the dragon fall. That's when Robbie practically falls into my lap. After saving him twice from certain death, we soon come to realize that there's a reason he's being hunted. Robbie floats through the world, intending to avoid any issues with a smile and a wave. Imagine his surprise when heading to a magic shop in Malibu. He's suddenly attacked by a vampire. He thought he could float away from whatever mess he stumbled into, but the problem stuck. Vampires are after him, but they don't want him dead. What does he have to do with a dragon-killing curse, and why is he falling for the fiery hot dragon who insists on saving him? Wait, is this a dragon shifter romance? I'm intrigued. And then the next day on November 11th, we have The Bone Collector by Onley James, which is the first book in The Watch. This is a spin-off of The Necessary Evils, or the second spin-off of The Necessary Evils. As far as I know, you don't need to have read the previous series, but you will probably miss like the little Easter eggs and stuff of the Mulvaney family. But this one is set at the Watch, which is the psychopath vigilante killer school that Archer and Mac run. And this is a student-teacher romance. I believe the teacher was a kill for hire, and he gets benched for some reason and ends up teaching at this school kind of reluctantly. And there is a student that doesn't seem like he should be at this school, and it is an age gap romance, kind of forbidden romance between the two of them. The student-teacher thing can be a little tricky, I know, for a lot of people. However, with Onley James's books, they are already so outrageous and so ridiculous and over the top and so far outside the realm of reality that I don't have the same hangups of like tropes that I do with more contemporary stories, because I already need to suspend belief so much. On to November 14th, we have Do Your Worst by Rosie Danan, and I have already read this one. This is a contemporary slash paranormal romance. We're following a heroine who is a curse breaker. For the first time ever, is trying to make a business of this because she hasn't found anything else that she is as good at as she is curse breaking. And so she ends up getting this job out in Scotland to hopefully remove a curse off of a very haunted castle. When she gets there, she ends up meeting this guy. They have this magical one night together, and then the next day she learns that he is an archaeologist that is working at the same castle, and the two of them immediately do not get along. He does not believe that she is a curse breaker. He does not believe in the paranormal. He thinks that she is a scam artist, and they begin this very antagonistic enemies to lovers sort of relationship. You will hear more about this in an upcoming recent reads, but for now, that's coming out on the 14th. Then we have The Next Door Nemesis by Alexa Martin, which is a standalone contemporary romance, and it is about like two rival neighbors. After years of hustling, Collins has finally made it back to her parents' house. Between tending to the compost with her newly retired dad and running into her high school nemesis at the only decent coffee shop in town, Collins realizes the subdivision from hell she swore she never returned to is her rock bottom. Nathaniel has always dreamed of a nice quiet life in his suburban hometown, or at least that's what he thought until Collins moved back and sent his quaint organized life into a tailspin. He thought she was infuriating 10 years ago, but when she announces she's running against him for HOA president, all bets are off. From secret board meetings to vicious smear campaigns whispered over backyard fences, Collins and Nate sink to levels their sleepy suburb has never seen before. But as hate turns into lust, these two enemies are forced to reckon with the feelings they've ignored for years. The last book on that day is Never Met a Duke Like You by Emily Howard, which is a historical romance. This is technically the second book in a series, but I have been told that I can read this one on its own. And this one ended up getting onto my radar because the heroine in this one has ADHD. It is not stated on page because they didn't have that word at this time period, but the author has said that the heroine does in fact have ADHD, and it is a pretty prevalent element to this story. The heroine is beautiful, clever, and popular. She's afforded every luxury as the Duke's daughter. She may have sworn off love, but she is rather excellent at arranging it. Faced with an insolvent estate, the hero has no choice but to return to England in a final attempt to revive his family's fortune. He has been gone for years, happy to have escaped his mother and petty circles of the ton, but to his dismay, not much has changed, including the beautiful and vexing heiress next door. When an accident of fate traps the friends turned enemies into an attic together, the explosive attraction between them becomes impossible to ignore and even harder to resist. They are total opposites, and their lives don't align in the slightest, but fate, the ultimate matchmaker, appears to have other plans. I think it should be fun. And then the next day, on October 15th, we have System Overload by Saxon James, which is book 5 in the Divorced Men's Club. This series is following this group of friends who are all part of the Divorced Men's Club. They just kind of get together and support each other. And I believe this one is a best friend's dad romance. So the younger hero in here has a best friend, Molly, and Molly kind of leaves at the end of book 4. And Will is alone for the first time and has no one to lean on. And he has always been in love with Molly's dad. And when Molly leaves, he ends up moving in with the dad, and the two of them have a forced proximity age gap romance. And I love it. I love the drama that comes with a romance between a parent and our main character. I don't know what it is. It's great. And then the day after that, on November 16th, we have Endless Terrors by KJ Sutton. This is the 5th book in the Fortuna Sworn series. This is a fae fantasy romance that is following Fortuna, who's a nightmare, and her magical ability is that she can see what people's greatest fears are and use that against them. At the beginning of the series, she's trying to find and save her brother. She ends up getting wrapped up into fae politics, into the fae court, and things progress from there. I'm excited for it. I know that Kelsey has hinted that we get a lot of information in this one, thank God, because there are so many questions. And then the day after that, on November 17th, we have Outdrawn by Deanna Gray, and this is a sapphic romance. I'm obsessed with this cover, and I haven't read the synopsis in quite a while, so I'm just going to read that. Noah finally got her foot in the door after clawing her way to the top of the charts. She's garnered enough attention to earn a full-time position at a company relaunching their cult classic, Queen Lysia. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Sage has always been the best artist in every building she stepped in. Raw talent has gotten her webcomic to the top of the charts every month for the past 8 years. She's been the best as long as she can remember. Sure, her career has plateaued, but that can be easily fixed by working in a big mainstream comic. She was promised complete creative control. Instead, she got shared credit with the one artist who's been breathing down her neck since college. Sage and Noah have to work as a team, or at least appear to work as a team. They thought the hardest part of the relaunch would be drawing together, but that's easy in comparison to falling in love. It says it's a slow burn, rivals to lovers sapphic romance, and it's a standalone. And then November 24th, we have Holiday Vibes by Sarah Brenton. This is book 2 in her Over the Top Love series. Book 1 was Love and Other Risky Business, which I ended up reading for a vlog. I'm gonna link that up in the cards. And this book is following the hero's sister who owns a sex toy company. And I am here for it. The Holiday Vibes title cracked me up. It says that this is Enemies with Benefits, Brother's Best Friend, featuring a grumpy hero and a snarky, unlikable heroine, finding their happily ever after. It can be read as a standalone. And I am excited to read more from this author since I did really end up liking that first book. And then November 28th, 4 books coming out on this day that I'm excited for. The first is For Never and Always by Helena Greer, which is the follow-up to Season of Love, which I have not read yet. They're not listed as a series though, so I think they can be read as like complete standalones. This one is a best friends to lovers to enemies to lovers romance. So they were best friends, they were in a relationship, they broke up, and now they are back together for a second chance romance in order to hopefully get an inheritance. I believe that this is also featuring 2 Jewish main characters. Don't hold me to that. I believe at least one of these characters is queer as well. And then we have A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch by Sarah Hawley, which is the next book in the, I don't know what the series is called. The first book was A Witch's Guide to Dating a Demon. This is a very witchy, contemporary rom-com sort of story. The synopsis says that Calladia knows that she's rough around the edges despite being the heir to one of small-town Glimmers Falls' founding witch families. While her gym obsession is a great outlet for anxiety and anger, her hot temper still gets the best of her and manifests in bar brawls. When she saves someone from a demon attack one night, she's happy to put her magic and rage to good use, until she realizes the man she saved is none other than Azeroth, the ruthless demon who orchestrated a soul bargain on her best friend. Yeah, so he was like the villain in book 1. Azeroth is a legendary soul bargainer and one of the 9 members of the Demon High Council, except he can't remember any of this. Suffering from amnesia after being banished to the mortal plane, he doesn't know why a demon named Malachi is after him, or why the muscular, angry, hot in a terrifying way, witch who saved him hates him so much. Unable to leave anyone in such a vulnerable state, even the most despicable demon, Calladia grudgingly decides to help him. Besides, punching an amnesiac would be in poor taste. The two set out on an uneasy road trip to find the witch who might be able to restore Azeroth's memory so that they can learn how to defeat Malak? The heroine vows that once Azeroth is cursed, she'll kick his ass, and the more time she spends with the snarky yet utterly charming demon, the more she likes his new improved self. I love a cheesy amnesia plot, and it sounds fun. Next is A Grim and Sunken Vow by Ashley Shuttleworth. This is the third book in the Hollow Star saga. I think this is 4 books long, I think. Don't hold me to that. This is a new adult, fae, urban fantasy, romance sort of series. These books are chunky, and we are following a huge cast of characters. Essentially, this group of outcasts come together and they're going to save the world. And it's been really good so far. I gave the first 2 books 5 stars. And then the last book on this day is The Witchwood Knot by Olivia Atwater. I think this is set in the same world as her other series, which I haven't read yet, but I really want to. And this is a dark gothic fantasy romance. It sounds like this is following a young governess who is taking care of a child, and all of a sudden he turns from being like this huge brat into being a perfect ray of sunshine, and she realizes that he's been abducted by the fairy, but the lord of the manor doesn't believe in the fairies, and then she ends up having to rescue the child by herself, and I assume she's gonna have a romance with the father. I assume. I've heard nothing but good things about this author and her like kind of cozy-esque fantasy romances. So that is all of the books that I have details on. The last 2 books that I want to talk about are courtesy of Heather from Hia Booktubes, and there's no set information. So the first one is that Christina C. Jones is going to be releasing a new vampire romance, and I'm excited. I, again, don't know any information about it. It doesn't have a release date, a title, a cover, nothing like that. But supposedly that is coming in November. Fingers crossed, because I want it. And then the other one is the 4th book in the Night Brother series by Adria Anderson should be coming out. This is a paranormal shifter romance that I am actually starting this month. And I guess the 4th and final book is coming out at some point in November. Again, it hasn't been announced yet, so I don't have any additional information. So that is going to be it for November releases. Let me know if there are any other releases that you are excited for. This is a very long list, but I know there are a ton of other like really big titles coming out this month. So let me know what you're most excited for coming out this month. Let me know if you've added any of these to your TBR, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.